Welcome back to Tools and Track. No more procrastination. This engine runs today. I've got a bit of a confession to make though. It's not going to take me very long to get this thing to fire up and run, I don't think. We've actually done everything that's needed to get it to run. Fuel system's set up as per the end of the last episode. I'm going to just jimmy the fuel wiring in a bit of a minge baggy way. In a moment I'll take you through where we've got to so far on the electrics, but for all intents and purposes it's turn the key and fire up time. So I'm going to nip out and get a jerry can of fuel and just see what happens. But the reason I'm getting to this point and saying that, the whole episode's not going to culminate in the engine starting is because once we get the engine started, there's the rest of the electrics to do. Now what do I mean by that? All the electrics that I've taken out at the moment, I know for a fact will not stop that engine from starting. But there is more electrics that I want to trim out and finesse, and I don't know for certain without a running engine like we had in the MX-5 before we ripped it all out, if that's going to cause me problems or not. So ultimately I need to get the engine running and provable. Well, let's call it provable. Provable again. I can't finish this loom. And as much as I have been focused for the past God knows how many weeks on making this run, I'm kind of alarmed as to what the next step might be, because it's going to need some thought. Because I thought by now it would have been ready for an IVA. Right, here we go, front to back. The to-do list for this episode. Missing coolant and Jubilee clips, so that's going to have to be dealt with. With regards to the engine, barring a couple of cable ties just to sort things out, we are actually okay and good to go. Most of the loom is sitting where it needs to be, and it's all terminated looking good. Do not let me forget to put this into this when we do the coolant. That is the two heater hoses. We no longer have a heater. Now, you'll note we have a nice big beefy earth point here, and we have a positive and a negative going to the battery. That is still more or less temporary, but a damn sight better than me holding it in place with my fingers like we had before. Moving back to this disaster of a loom, you'll notice that we have green tape. I've started to sort of finesse, and whilst it looks like an absolute pig's dinner, this makes sense now. There are specific bits of loom going to specific places. This remainder I need to have a running engine to deal with. But once that's dealt with, we've just got single lines going to the relevant parts of the car. And believe me, that's a massive step considering where this loom was. What we can then start doing is final fitting where it would be in the car, things like P-clips, proper cable routes, and then panels, actually. Panels are going to be the next big thing, I think. We'll finish off the welding with the chassis and start looking at panels, because this will need to start looking like a car. Anyway, back to where we were. Prop shaft, like we had in the last episode, I have now fitted and it's in. And doing the thing. Handbrake we will probably finish off, but that's not for today. Other electrics out with the engine starting, by the way. Yes, lights, indicators, all that jazz. Not today's problem. We'll get to that. Next thing on to-do list is to fill this up. And once we've got fuel in the tank, just going to try and send it. See if it starts. Yeah, fuel station. Petrol. Observant viewers will note that I have fashioned my thoroughly safe homebrew fuel cap and temporary breather system. This is a fuel filter, which will do perfectly well as a breather because it's basically got a breather element and it'll not let fluid spring out. This guy, yeah, okay, it'll just stop any vapour getting out for a test fire. So we are now done, ready to go. Everything's on, fuel filter's in, pumps on, wired. Well, I say wired, we'll get to that in a wee second, but that's as good a tank as I'm going to get. Right, I've tickled the balls for long enough. We're here, the moment has arrived. I've got enough put together to start this engine without it giving me the fear How are we going to do this? Now I've got it cranking, I've got the fuel system in place, I have not got a fuel relay, so don't judge me too hard. I'm going to just touch the fuel pump onto the positive to get it to prime. So let's do this before we start anything else and check that works. Right, well that sounds positive, and as you can hear, we have primed the system. There's definitely no air leaks. I've looked around, we've not got any fuel leaks, so that's also positive. Now, by rights, I should be able to just turn the key and this will start. Turn the key and see if it starts then. Things have energised. Well, it works! That should not have been that easy, but it works. What now? Oh yeah. All the other electrical stuff, that's what's next. We're once again not getting a start on this really irritating car. So I've found this fuse. Remember we had a wee discussion about that the other day? We're going to start calling that the immobiliser fuse. That blew, so I've replaced it, thinking that could be the problem. And to be fair, it's now making a cough and a splutter, but it's still not firing up. So
we have been at this for 10,000 years. We've pulled the fuel line out.
Yeah.
And we've actually fired the pump and there's fuel pishing everywhere.
Yeah.
We've got petrol.
Now it's the next thing, spark.
Spark.
So.
Because the chance of it being compression is like negligible. The engine has done nothing.
And it also ran and then immediately didn't run, so that's not a sudden you
reminded me of Jeremy Clarkson when he's in Albania. The breakdown guy shows up and he says, speaks Albanian, and Jeremy Clarkson goes, running and then stop.
So what we're doing here is a diagnostic suite. If you're ever going to do this in your own car, you want to be very conscious of the fact that you don't want fuel coming out. Now I've got a very easy way of making sure that I don't want fuel coming out. I don't jerry-rig the fuel like I've been doing every time, and that isolates the fuel pump. So what we're going to do is crank this engine as it sits right now. Now all these plugs are sitting live on their coil packs and they're earthed onto the engine as so. So when I crank this, they should all display a nice healthy spark in their firing sequence. So, here we go.
Plug 1 and 4 are firing, 2 and 3 are not really.
So what does that tell you about that? 2 and 3 share the same coil plug.
Oh my.
Oh my. Plus the other plugs are not in a great condition whatsoever, probably because they've never been changed in their lives, and the leads look shagged, and we're now getting to a point where, remember how we were building the chassis and then we're going to get the car running and then it's like, cool, it'll run and then we'll do the next thing. What I failed to do is pay any attention to this engine whatsoever. And it's an old 100,000 plus mile engine, and it's now presenting problems because we are doing that thing where we're pushing the boundaries on it. So I'm going to have to do something with that. But what we know at the moment is it did run and then suddenly
it stopped.
It just doesn't, right? And I've got a spark issue. So I'm not going to worry about the loom, and I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to deal with the spark issue. So we're going to move on to something completely different.
Should we not, before we proceed on to something different, swap the coil over and see if the issue persists?
No, well what we're going to do to make sure the issue persists is we're going to swap the spark plugs over to isolate
Let's do
the
that,
sparks
yes,
from the loom.
absolutely.
Great.
Right, darling, smile for me. Be a tiger, darling.
If the spark plugs are the issue, these two will be sparking. If the coils are the issue, same fault as before. Well, that's interesting. It's all
Yeah, all of it's
so that's now the only one that's going. Which is, it means
do that again. I was watching the camera. There was a big spark coming.
Yeah, but it's from this one.
Aye. All of them are sparking, but none at the diode.
They're basically all
Aye.
right.
Do you know something? I'm going to be bold here and say I think it's the plugs.
I think it's all of it. Basically, what's going to have to happen here is I don't want to have any doubts, so it's all getting swapped.
Yes. Get a V8 in instead.
TPR. Do I? impromptu but probably well overdue replacement of all the ignition system. I'm kind of hoping that all of a sudden I'll be able to get a song out of this thing again. If it doesn't, I'm going to burn it. Give it a prime. Fueling system. Well, that's all that. Jesus Christ, that's all that debate. Okay, now we can get back on track to where we were, and I'm only 70 quid later. Right, that was pretty smoky, I'm not going to lie. So I think what we're going to do next is put some coolant in this so we can run it for a longer period of time. I just want to make sure, there's rumours that the immobiliser kicks in and it can take up to 2 minutes if it's not working, but I just want to make sure this engine's running. It's smoky, I want to clear its throat, but I can't really do it in here, so you know where this is going. She's coming out, boys!
Yep, what's happening?
So, as you can see, Brother Hog, we have got the death cart out.
It's weird seeing it out here.
Yeah.
TVR Chimera for sale, one careful owner.
No, we're not going to stop banging on about it until it's gone.
Yeah.
So you'll see here I've still got one coolant line to sort here. Now that is the expansion tank stroke overflow. Now I haven't bought one of these, and quite simply put, I'm not going to, because we're just not at that stage yet. What I'm going to do is make one. Observe the genius of my plan.
At work.
There we go. Right, one last wee bit of to deal with, and then we will fill this guy up. And that is cable tying that out there. It's just a wee bitty too close. Maybe some more cable ties in general. Cable tie the world, boys. Nothing's touching it out. Put lines are on. Let's fill her up. Right. Shall we? Shall we dance?
We shall.
Right, let's do it. Let's
You might rotate this to point exhaust actually.
That
at
way,
the
actually.
minute.
Just push it out. Oh my god.
That's cool. Wow, look at that, it's outside.
Right. Here we go. Right, okay, round two.
You're looking perplexed.
I am. So we've had mixed results here. Obviously it runs for prolonged periods of time, but I'm pretty sure the fuel pump is causing significant issues, because if I run it too long, it starts smoking and bogging down. If I take the pump off, it'll still run and then start revving up and leaning out. The cat isn't happy, and then we tried it there again, and dialing in throttle for a constant run at high RPM. It's doing and just cutting out. So it runs, we've established that it runs, but there's still
Work to be done.
many issues. But what we've got to do is take some acknowledged wins from this. So we have managed to establish that the coolant system works pretty effectively. We've got an engine that will start and run pretty effectively. The exhaust system works, etc, etc. So
Pretty effectively.
yeah, we're there thereabouts. So what we're going to do now is 3-point turn, and then go back to the drawing board essentially at some point to work out what I'm going to do with this fuel tank, because this setup for just constant pumping with a deadhead fuel system, it's not working. There's an issue there. The pump's also not happy. It's squealing its nuts off.
Is the pump adjustable?
No, it's just, it shouldn't be adjustable, you realize it's fuel pressure that's adjusted via the rail. Anyway, let's not get bogged in this. Let's 3-point it, get it back in, and we're also putting in the other way around for reasons which we'll get to shortly. I've just had the mechanic loader offer to give me a hand, and I'm about to demonstrate why that is pointless. Take my chassis for a walk, mate.
Didn't we do that before?
Aye, you want to box from anywhere.
There is something extraordinarily cool about basically building, or completely building your own car that's going to demolish every wee in a Fiesta ST across the nation. I wish I could build this, I really do. We're wild to engineer half of the shit that this requires.
Good with that. Stay there. I'm going to break down my sweat. Now, I wonder if I could actually be bold and reverse it straight in without the ollies. Let's try.
Bang. Bang.
Yes.
Bang.
Oh, no, no.
I know I'm a head fuels, but I did offer to help him and he insisted that this was a one-man job, so I get to stand back and be obnoxious and smug because I did offer. For sake, Karen, you're making a Doug's dinner of this. Needless to say, the chassis is a wee bit heavier than it used to be. Bang.
Oh.
Bang. 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 That's good, you're lifting literally the entire chassis. Hey, there it goes. Well, at least we know it goes in and out with relative ease.
Just like it's summer.
Got a feeling I'm going to be saying bang again in a minute. Bang.
You're just saying bang the hell of it now.
Aye.
That's that done, isn't it? So, we approved it starts. Now we need to start another episode with another list, and it's going to be substantial. But a list is a job for another day, for I am beat. That, however, you can't deny is pretty good progress. Lots of wins, lots of things to consider for next time. We're going to knock up a list. If you think there's things that should be on that list that I haven't even forgot about, it's up in the comments below, because there probably will be, you know me. Anyway, that wraps it up for today. Everyone that's running up the side of the list, they are Patreons, they help that. So if you want to be that level of awesome, patreon.com/toolsandtrack, help a brother out. If that's not for you, cool, totally get it. At least do the like, subscribe and bell crap at the bottom of the page. Here we go. If that's not for you either, fine. I get it. Thanks for watching anyway. Hope you come back for another one. Until then guys, drive safe.